There are people within society who function as gatekeepers. Their work is to usher in new sets of ideas that later become mainstream. They possess an element of thought leadership to generate concepts that can shape how people understand things, how they interpret society. And these people, they can have either a positive influence or a negative influence on the people. If there's going to be a generational shift, a new generation taking over positions of power, the younger people need to realize that we cannot just copy and paste the blueprints of the previous generation or the older generation. We have to. Hello builders, my name is Carol Gishohi and I'm your good friend here. In today's video, I'll be speaking to you on what I'm calling the role of ideologies in shaping society. When there's a generational shift, when a new generation is taking over positions of power, leadership, and decision making, they usually bring their fresh ideas because their way of thinking is different from the previous generation or the generation that is currently in power. Which means every shift in generation signifies a new era of development because the structures of society, they rise from the ideas of their generation. So every generation gets to define the norms of their time. The question now becomes, where do these ideas come from? The ideas that define the norms, the ideas that shape society, where do they come from? There are people within society who function as gatekeepers. They are gatekeepers. Their work is to usher in emerging knowledge, emerging trends before they become popular, new sets of ideas that later become mainstream, become the new norm. And these people, because they are gatekeepers, they determine what reaches the masses. They can have either a positive influence or a negative influence on the people. You know, I discovered something, and I've talked about it in one of the episodes. I discovered that what you call dominant culture does not just emerge by chance. I discovered that dominant culture, the culture of society, it is intentionally constructed. It is engineered. And I spoke on that in the video that I did on the emerging church, the innovative church. I think I'll link it somewhere so you can review. When I was talking about Esther and the power of subtlety and cultural hegemony, that is an entire conversation. You can just go if you have not had a chance to watch that video, because as the salt of the earth and the light of the world, we are dealing with a real world. So we need strategy. We need to know these things because it is a real world. So there is strategy and intentionality that we need to have. So anyway, you can just go back and watch that video. Back to the conversation of the day. So these gatekeepers, they can have either a positive influence or a negative influence on the people because as gatekeepers, they determine what reaches the masses. In the days of Jesus, in the biblical times, they often refer to him as rabbi. Now, rabbi is not a religious term. Rabbi means a master teacher. It speaks of someone who develops a school of thought to teach others by imparting original ideas that begin to shape how people think, how they perceive the world, how they behave towards the world, because we behave towards the world based on how we perceive it from the ideas that were transmitted to us over time. Yeah? So culture is engineered. So these gatekeepers, they possess an element of thought leadership to generate concepts that can be adopted by society, concepts that can shape how people understand things, how they interpret society. Historically, we have figures like Karl Marx. Karl Marx developed the concept of communism, an ideology that was meant to achieve a classless society where the means of production are owned collectively by community rather than private ownership. So they have what we may call opinion shapers. They influence how people interpret society, how people understand some social issues, even economy. So they are shapers of society. They are thought leaders. They are opinion shapers, these gatekeepers. Now, where am I going with this and how does this relate to the generational shift? We go back to the story of Esther and Mordecai. But this story of Esther and Mordecai, there is so much to draw from. Their blueprints, their patterns for us when it comes to social transformation. So the story of Esther and Mordecai, that narrative, when the king allowed Esther and Mordecai to publish another law, a counter law to publish a law that could counteract what had been previously established, is that these two, they embodied a counter ideology that by gaining the king's acceptance, it became the new governing ideology. As a result, there was a shift in power, and the Jewish people took over and they began to rule over their oppressors. So how does this relate to the generational shift? Now, if there's going to be a generational shift, a new generation taking over positions of power, that shifts. Especially the younger people need to realize that we cannot just copy and paste the blueprints of the previous generation or the older generation and expect to build something new that bears our DNA and our identity. We have to labor and develop our ideas, and ideas that go against the established norms, ideas that go against the established traditions. So we have to labor and develop our fresh ideas and propagate and champion them until they take over and displace the established traditions that are no longer serving the present needs. Then we are going to begin to see structures that bear our DNA and our identity, structures that have been built on the basis of fresh ideas that we are bringing and introducing when there's a generational shift. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. I'll be seeing you next week for another episode. Subscribe and stay tuned. Bye-bye.